I went to the local judge, the late Masime, and I told him I needed his protection because my jurisdiction is being interfered with by the senior resident magistrate with the DC.
I'll keep saying this, and it's our tagline on CTA. First and foremost, for all of you who are joining CTA for the very first time because of our guest, welcome to CTA. Hit the subscribe. I know our guest has made you watch our channel for the first time, but welcome to the family. Welcome, become a CTA ambassador. Our tagline on this show is you truly never know people until you take the time out to get to know people. And the best way for you to get to know somebody is to hear them narrate their own story from their own version, from their own mouth. For me, you're already breaking a lot of stereotypes or a lot of perceptions that I had about you. And I intentionally didn't accept to have them until I had you speak. Sometimes you see a small snippet of somebody on TV saying something and you judge them, not understanding the full picture. Anyway, welcome back.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming back. Martha is amazing. She had different plans for the day, but imagine she went, did the meetings and decided to come back. So thank you so much for honoring us as we honor you. And it's small things like that that show me somebody's character. Where we left this story, such a pivotal point. You are just about to turn 24 and you've become a magistrate.
Yeah.
You know at 24 what I was doing? I'm so embarrassed to say, but anyway, over to you.
So I was posted to Nakuru.
Can I say something? You're 24,
Yeah.
you're a female,
Yeah.
and you're in a different region.
Yeah, but you see, even in Nairobi, I would still have been on my own. So I go to Nakuru, and in Nakuru, I first stay in a hotel, the Midlands Hotel. And there I met a girl I had been in school with, a friend who is from Kirinyaga, Agnes Moshera. She was working at Midlands. And after a week in Midlands, Agnes invites me to move into her house while I'm waiting for the government to find me government quarters.
For context, what year is this?
This is 81.
1981.
July.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not yet even born.
So, well, my son, that's how old I am. No. So I stayed with Agnes for like a month, and I got government quarters which were not suitable. I didn't like the isolation of the house, so I didn't take it, but helped by an Asian family of a leading advocate in Nakuru, Mr. Praveen Baure.
Wow.
He was then stationed in Nakuru. I got a guest house in a compound of a nation called Tapu, in a very nice place. So I moved in there. Yeah. So
that's amazing. So are you living with them in that?
Yes, I'm living with them in their compound.
Yes.
So I'm completely secure, but I have my own one-bedroomed guest house within that compound. I developed friendships with Mrs. Tapu, otherwise called Larita.
Nice.
And therefore, I was not isolated or lonely. I'm coming in, doing my thing in my house, but I'm within a setup of people I can relate to, and we converse once in a while, we share, so that's okay.
Nice. Even before we go into your work, what exactly you were doing there, you've come from Kirinyaga, now you're in Nairobi. What's Nakuru like at this time in 1981?
Nakuru is a small, very clean town. Yeah. I had already read about it, that it's a clean town, so when I went and found it clean, it was okay. It was a small town, but it had low-income areas, Kwaronda, those low-income places.
Metropolitan, different, by the time I'm hearing you talking, but the Indians were all over, it sounds like.
In fact, there was an Indian young man I had been to law school with, Sandeep Karia. So I bought my bed in Gekomba. A beautiful Meru oak bed.
In Gikomba.
Which was transported by rail to Nakuru.
By rail?
I had no address. So which address do I give? My classmate tells me, take it to my dad's shop. So I gave the address of Sandeep Karia's father.
Wow.
And the bed arrived in Nakuru 2 days after me. Yeah. And I collected it from their shop when I got a house, not before.
Yeah.
When I got my house at the Tapos.
So, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let me enter now into your career to understand it. Your plan wasn't to be a magistrate this fast.
It was.
Oh, it was?
Hey, judge, to become a judge.
Oh.
You know, a magistrate in Kerugoya was called a judge.
Oh, yeah.
And remember my dream, and I'm telling my father, I want to be a judge. There it was, I became a judge, lo and behold. A magistrate in my mind was a judge.
For context, what's the ranking and what's the difference?
I was a district magistrate too. From there now, magistracy, you can rise up to chief magistrate. Then my time, there was no chief magistrate was a single post in Kenya.
Whoa.
And it was the chief magistrate sitting in the law courts in Nairobi, the current Supreme Court building.
Whoa.
So you rise from district magistrate to resident magistrate to senior resident to a judge, okay? Because chief magistrate can only be one.
Yes.
So that was even anything to contemplate.
Wow.
You are contemplating of rising to a judge.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's now then enter into this becoming a magistrate.
Yeah.
Do they give you training? Had you learned about this in School of Law?
Yeah, we'd during our second year, we'd been attached to courts, and I was attached to the Kerugoya court with one Jerugidhae, and therefore I had seen what goes on in court.
Okay.
During the law school attachment, and I was attached to, again, a lawyer from Kirinyaga whom I admired. He's still practicing, Joseph Dedan Muremi, J.D. Muremi. And I had gone to court with him, mainly civil court. When I landed in Nakuru as a freshly appointed magistrate, the senior resident magistrate in charge of the station attached me to the chambers of a then senior resident magistrate by the name R.S.C. Omolo, who later became a judge up to the Court of Appeal.
Oh, okay.
So I'm in Omolo's court for a week. He's mainly handling civil cases, and I'm now ready.
Okay.
So I'm thrown into court. That day, I wasn't I hadn't been taken to the district court. I've been put in one of the courts within the main Nakuru Law Courts building, and I'm given civil cases. I enter the courtroom, it's full of lawyers. I sit down, and everything flees from my mind.
Stage fright.
And I am not able to work out my next move. I have a pile of files in front of me. There's my court clerk and a courtroom full of people and lawyers.
So all rise, the Honorable Magistrate.
I have entered and I have sat. Bowing is okay, and I have sat. And the first file has been called out, and I'm there looking like I'm lost. So one senior lawyer, I still believe it's the late Mr. Kagushia, comes forward and just tells me softly, mark all the cases SOG. SOG means stood over generally. If it's stood over generally, it means everybody goes back to the registry for new dates.
Oh.
Okay? It means no action
Yes.
that day. So he realizes.
He realized that, hey, you're not...
And he just comes and whispers to me, and that was my escape. Everything was SOG. Yeah, you just say all matters will be marked SOG.
People must have been upset, though.
And the court finishes. No, I mean...
What can you say?
I was the first and at that time the only female magistrate in Nakuru. A little girl who has come from school. I'm sure they went discussing and saying what is happening here.
Yeah.
So I went. The next time I'm in the district court. I'm the one taking pleas, and criminal, whatever, had no problem. I found my bearing in both criminal and civil, but criminal was more straightforward for me.
Okay.
You know, civil procedure has a bit of its own complications, and although I'd learned everything at the law school, seen it in court with Mr. Muremi, sat with Judge Omolo, because now he's retired Judge Omolo. I had seen everything, but it just escaped. I mean, I had stage fright. You see? It's a day I remember. So after that, I got my bearing and I was fully in command.
Okay, now
Yes.
you I want to understand what it means when you're fully in command. What kind of cases have been thrown your way?
Whatever case is brought,
Yeah.
I know the procedure. There's no more stage fright. I'm fully trained.
Yes, I
so
get
I
it.
know what I'm doing and I do it. And I do it properly.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what was that experience like? Did you, okay, let me in fact ask the more difficult ones. Were people undermining you because you are young and a woman?
There was a hint, like this advocate would call me her honor. It used to irritate me
It's
to
supposed
no
to be
end.
your honor.
I just look at him like that. He repeats. The third time I tell him, address the court, not my person.
Oh, nice.
Because he's not, when it's guys, they're not calling him his honor.
Yes, yes.
So why am I her honor? It should be your honor.
And you've never been taught to call anyone her
I did
honor?
not explain anything to him, but I told him, I wouldn't say the name, but I said, you will address the court, not my person. Yeah.
And he changed.
And we moved on, yeah.
What
Because it was irritating me, you
Yes,
know.
yeah.
You don't want every time he calls you, you're like looking up, like stiffening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like an assault. Yeah, because he's trying to differentiate. He's trying to say, how did you find your way here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And would you say you were fair and impartial when it came to giving justice?
I should think so, because my cases were rarely overturned on appeal.
Oh, nice.
That means I was even-handed.
Yes.
And because I was very lenient to the petty offenders, especially those brewing traditional liquor, a rumor was floating in Nakuru that I was raised on the proceeds of such a brew. That's why I'm so kind to them.
What?
And within no time, I saw them as economic offenses driven by economic exclusion. Because if these people had another way of eking out a living, that's not where they would be. Who would want to be chased by police every other day and brought to court? Because they used to be repeat offenders. Women who have left young children in the house alone, you know, mainly women. The brewers are mainly women.
Yes.
Yeah, so I used to just give them 1 day's extramural penal employment. We call it EMP. It means sweeping around the courts until the court rise and you go home. Yeah, because if you give a monetary whatever, most people won't be able to pay. So those days I used to fine them 40 shillings or 1 day's EMP. So if you don't have 40 bob to pay, and 40 bob was money, because my salary then was 3,000. So 40 bob was money.
Yep.
So 1 day's EMP means at 4 p.m. you will go home.
Yes, after you've done the...
To your children, yeah.
Community service.
Community service, either around the courts, around other government offices within Nakuru if the people are too many. Yeah. I told you I had come from the university viewing things with a social justice lens, which I still do today.
Yep.
And I saw those people. I didn't have the language of saying they're economically excluded. Now I know it's a matter of exclusion. But I used to call them victims of society. Yeah.
But by the time that fununu, that kind of word is reaching out into the public,
and I'm being told by my friends what is out there, the district commissioner is already upset with the chiefs that they are arresting people and I'm releasing them. So they're putting pressure on the senior resident magistrate, Hindi called Shevdi, that I should be asked to jail the liquor offenders without option or fine.
What?
And he is trying to tell me. And I'm telling him, you can't tell me. My appeal lies to the High Court, just like yours. So if you want to jail them, take back the pleas and jail them with your pen, not mine. So after that exchange, Shevdi eventually recalled the pleas and started taking them. I went to the local judge, the late Masime, and I told him I needed his protection because my jurisdiction is being interfered with by the senior resident magistrate with the DC.
And please, let's say this, the DC is a powerful person at the time. This is
also they thought.
No, but what I mean by this is the time of provinces.
Hey, this is the time the DC was the DC.
Yes.
So what happened? Mr. Masime told me he'll see to it. I didn't know what he meant, but what would happen is that those with money, after they are immediately jailed, their lawyers will go to the judge to apply for bail pending appeal.
Yes.
And it became, that week was a great embarrassment to Mr. Shevde, because he would jail people in the morning. In the afternoon, they are released by the High Court, either on bail or on revision of sentence. You see?
Martha, let me slow you down. What you've said, I don't want people to miss.
Yeah.
So, you're giving what they are terming as lenient sentences.
Yes, 1 day EMP.
Yes,
they are petty offenders.
To these petty offenders.
They have not killed anyone. They just looked for a source of livelihood in a way that the government is saying is not okay. It's like the informal sector. In Uganda, brewers of similar nature were helped by the government, and they make a drink called waragi.
Waragi, yes. Waragi, yes.
In Tanzania, it's konyagi or something like that.
So a version of changa was
in
legalized.
Kenya, if we could help them distill, changa is a spirit.
Yes.
Distill it just like John Walker. Help them do it in clean and whatever circumstances. But don't shut them up like they have killed a person.
Wow.
What do you want them to do and you're not offering them employment?
Your lens of the way you're seeing things is very different, and because I myself hadn't seen it in what you're saying. You're saying this was a potential keroche. It's a
potential local industry, and you know what is so bad? Those days, people were not mixing the way they are mixing formalin, which is used for dead bodies on those brews. I told you we used to eat even the boiled eggs as we went home and the samosas. Yes. People were doing good things. If it's food, it would be okay. So if it is changa, it was changa. If it is busa, busa is like porridge that is fermented. So why are you calling busa illegal? And it's a drink you can make at home. Wow. Why don't you license so that those who cannot take the alcohol that is made by the big industry to take this one from small people? Recently, a court in Kiambu declared traditional brews not illegal.
For real?
Yeah. And the law unconstitutional. Because it is double standards. What makes the killer whiskeys? Because even abused, they can kill.
Yes.
You see? It's a killer whiskey.
It is.
So what are you telling me about killer changa?
Here's the thing that, again, I don't want people to miss, because when I've got it, it's actually, it's mind-blowing. So, because you're doing this, somebody out of your system, the DC, steps in, speaks to your boss.
To pressure me.
To pressure you. What your boss does, this story is incredible. Your boss was giving you some work. He takes that work and begins to...
First, he instructs me to jail them. When I refuse, in fact, the day I found him discussing with the DC, I went and gave everybody a 1 day EMP. Okay? So within days, he takes the pleas.
Yes.
And then the judge is releasing them in the afternoon. So it became an embarrassment.
So now he starts giving them this heavy 6 months or how
he would jail them either a month or whatever jail sentence, but it was custodial for everybody.
But then some people didn't have lawyers.
Those with lawyers applied. You see,
and pay the bail.
And they pay the bail or they are released on revision. But you see, those in jail are going to know there is a system that can release them. And therefore more and more people are coming to the judge.
And now your boss starts looking bad.
It is very embarrassing. Within a week, he wants to return the plea. I first refuse, then I accept.
So he said, I'm returning them to you.
Yeah, I had refused. After a full week is when I accepted for the pleas to come back. So you take them and you are taking them bad, through ill will. So I had refused. But eventually I agreed. They came back and life went on as normal and nobody interfered in again.
But what did that then mean? So did that, because I know this is going to be a recurring theme in your story, because of you standing up like this to people who, in quote unquote, have more power than you. And again, it's people who are higher in ranking than you.
Yeah.
Does that affect the environment in which you are now working or continuing to work?
You see, luckily it would have affected, because then anything I want, like leave or what, he would have complicated. But because of all that embarrassment, I had, by that time, I applied for a transfer to Nairobi. My social life was in Nairobi, and I used to come to Nakuru, from Nakuru to Nairobi every weekend. Okay. Nakuru being a small town, you can't even interact socially because you are likely to meet with people appearing in the court. So I would always come to Nairobi on weekends. I had requested, and they told me I have hardly stayed in the station. It's not possible. But now when that embarrassment occurs to Mr. Shevdi, the grapevine told me he had helped my transfer.
Because he wants you out.
They just spread a rumor that I was coming to Nairobi to get married. So what happened is that I had applied for a cross transfer with a colleague who is now late, SK Ndungi.
Yeah.
For some reason, he wanted out of Nairobi, and I wanted in. And we got to know, because we wouldn't get a formal transfer before the end of a year. So we asked for a swap. And the government used to allow those swaps, but they don't give you disturbance allowance. So after that incident, miraculously, our swap, which had not been approved, was approved. So I moved back to Nairobi after 1 year in Nakuru, October of 1982. Just after my 25th birthday, yeah.
Wow. Was the coup in 82 or in 81?
The coup was in 82.
Aha, okay.
So the coup has happened in August, and I moved to Nairobi in October.
Whoa. So the coup has... No, but you moved in 81.
82. 81 is when I became a magistrate in July.
I get it.
So I stayed in Nakuru 1 year, just slightly over a year.
Yes.
So I moved back to Nairobi October 82.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you want to know about the coup?
Yeah, the coup, but then also you see you're in Nairobi. So the coup is touching you.
The coup has happened when I'm in Nakuru.
Sorry.
Rarita has come to knock on my door early morning, and she's asking me, have I heard? I had not heard. She's telling me there is a coup. And I have to open the door to hear the words properly, because I'm thinking I'm not hearing.
Yeah.
And she tells me government is no more.